Hey guys, it's the FANA Fan Podcast. I'm Ben.
And I'm Topless, and for all you groundhoppers out there, this podcast is for you. And today we're joined by Jack, or as I like to call him, the Merry Miller. All right, Jack, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on, you guys. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, me too.
Right,
So, Jack.
Jack.
Yep, go on, Ben. Sorry.
So, what's your background in football? Tell us a bit about it.
Well, football for me, it started in 2002. My first real memory of football was when I was at school. England played Japan in the World Cup. No, it was in Japan, sorry. And I think it was England v Brazil. And we all sat down in the hall, watched the match. I can't really remember much about it, but I just remember watching that match. And then we had a tournament after it at school, and I just loved it. I started doing after school clubs when I was in year 3. Enjoyed it. I'm a Rotherham United fan, but my first game, the PE teacher at the school at the time, and his son, who was in my class, they took me to Barnsley. They played Grimsby Town. The game finished 0-0. Barnsley had a penalty. I can remember standing on a seat in the last minute to watch it, and they missed. So that was my first game. But all I remember, what was brilliant from that game, is because I got my nickname Ronaldo at school because I weren't very good, but I had a blonde. My hair dyed blonde at the front, and it made me look a bit like him. And I said, "Can we go and watch Man United next week?" And they're like avid Barnsley fans, and I've just popped out with, "No, could you call me Ronaldo? Can we go and watch Man United next week?" and every time he sees me now, even if he sees me out the street, "Hey up, Ronaldo!" All the time, I never lost that. So that was like my first early starts in football. And then my uncle, who also is a Barnsley fan, he took me to about 6 home games, but it wasn't consecutive. It was just like in drips and drabs. So like 1 month I might get to a game, and I might not get to a game for another 3 months. My first away game was Huddersfield v Barnsley. Barnsley won 2-0, but I can't remember much about it. Only that I got 50p knocked off a burger. And then after that, one of my dad's friends were a big Rotherham fan. And he asked my dad if he could take me to a Rotherham game at Millmoor. They were playing Sheffield United. And Sheffield United had an Illuminous kit at the time. That's what I can remember. And it was like a similar kit to Stewards. Sheffield United went 2-0 up. Rotherham pulled it back to draw 2-2. And the atmosphere was incredible. And I just loved it. But I can remember shutting my ears every time that there were going to nearly be a goal. Because it was just that loud at Millmoor. If you've never been to Millmoor, it's such a classic ground. And the fans used to really so that is really the very starting point of me watching football. And then from being at Millmoor, I just got hooked to going to Rotherham and going to Millmoor. And my dad's friend kept asking me, "Do you want to come back?" "Yeah." And then I'd go and go and go. And then if I couldn't go because I was too young, I'd listen to it on radio when they were away from home. And I used to get shirts every season. Absolutely fell in love with the club. Remember early doors going and meeting Barry and Paul Chuckle. Rotherham were playing Swansea. I met them before the game. And then as soon as we got to the game got called off. But I was buzzing to meet Chuckle Brothers, really. And they've done great for the club. I mean, Barry's not here now, but bless him. But they've both done so much for the club. Both ambassadors represented as well. So then Rotherham obviously moved to the Don Valley Stadium. So I went to plenty of matches, and then 2 years into the Don Valley, I got a season ticket. So I was deemed old enough by my parents to go watch Rotherham each week. So I had 2 years at Don Valley. Very wet, very cold. You're far away from the pitch. I mean, the first game I took binoculars just in case. But the chips were banging. The chips were really good. So even if Don Valley were bad, it had its perks. That was just the food. But some great times at Don Valley though. We won Leicester City in the cup, won Leeds in the cup. That was great. Won Aldershot to go to Wembley. I mean, we lost in the playoff final, but it was still a great feeling. Knocking out Wolves, knocking out a Southampton team in the cup as well, 3-1. We were good players to watch. Adam Lafondra and Ruben Reid, they were the standouts. But yeah, and then obviously I moved on to the New York Stadium where we are now. And I mean, I'm not being biased if I were to say it's the best ground in South Yorkshire. Yeah, it's unbelievable. What a facility. I mean, you drive past it, you're like, wow. And that's where I am today in terms of where I started with football and still supporting Rotherham. But then Groundhopping, that just started through me when Rotherham were away. It started through me. I was seeing Sheffield Wednesday, £40 to get in. I saw, and it was mental. And I was thinking, who's this Park Gate who Rotherham are playing in a friendly? Park Gate, who are they? So I just thought, I'll research him and I'll go to the game. So I went to a Parkgate v Rotherham game. And I loved it. I thought, wow, I didn't even know these grounds existed. So at this time I was about 16, 17. Didn't know these grounds existed. I thought, oh, wow, I love this. I wonder who they're playing next week. And kind of started groundhopping and thought, oh, I like this ground. Let's see what another ground's like. And that's where I really started my groundhopping experience.
Wow, fantastic. I mean, can I point out there, you actually went to watch Barnsley before you watched Rotherham. Is that true?
Yeah.
So all these years, I could have been calling you the terrific Tyke instead of the Merry Miller, eh?
You could have. Or the Dingle.
Yeah, I don't know, what can we do? The douche dingle. I don't know. Delightful dingle, that's the one.
Yeah. Could have been.
So, Jack, so as you were talking about Rotherham, you started at the Millmore, you transitioned into Don Valley. How did the fans take it? How did you take it? Because obviously you had a ground, an iconic ground by the sounds of it. I was obviously unfortunate enough not to go to Millmore. I've seen United against Rotherham at Don Valley, and I've also been to the New York Stadium. But in terms of moving to the Don Valley Stadium, how did you take it? Because obviously you then move in sort of into the Sheffield postcode and the Sheffield area. How was it?
And did you need your binoculars, by the way?
So it was needed at the time. In fact, the fans, I think it was a 50-50 split between fans not wanting to move to go to Sheffield, travel to Sheffield, because it felt like an away game every game. The place was soulless, and it was hard to get an atmosphere because you're so far away from the pitch. So you don't know how much the players could hear and how much the managers could hear. So that was really difficult. But we had really good times at the time. And it's just stories to tell people, really, from Don Valley, hundreds. I mean, I don't know if you know the reason how Rotherham actually got to playing at Don Valley, but the old owners at Millmore were called Ken Booth, and and he actually was the old chairman at Rotherham at one stage. And he's got his own scrap, and he's got a scrapyard behind Millmore. Well, he did. He has now passed away. But Millmore's still on to the Booth family. When Tony Stewart bought the club, he come in literally in the 11th hour, because we might not have a team to support. So we're really grateful for Tony Stewart and for everything he's done for Rotherham United. So they had a meeting about Millmore and how much rent, and they agreed on a deal to keep Millmore. And then all of a sudden, they wanted to put up the rent even more. And Tony Stewart said, "I'm not having it. I'll go and find somewhere else." And that's when he found Don Valley. That's when he looked at all the alternatives. Where could we play? Looked at playing at Rotherham Titans. But we couldn't do it. So we ended up moving. We had to move to Don Valley, and for me, Don Valley, from my personal opinion, is Don Valley kept us a club, kept us alive. It's a significant part in our history, in our development for where we are now.
So it definitely has its positives then, moving to Don Valley, despite it being soulless.
Don't get me wrong, the football wasn't the best. We were in League Two. Mm-hmm. Don't forget that we had three administrations. We had minus 37 points in 3 years.
Jeez.
So as a club, we were suffering. The fans were suffering. We've not had, from 2007, we got relegated, minus 10 points in League One, relegated to League Two. We're in League Two, in the playoffs, minus 10 points, miss out on the playoffs. League Two, start the season with minus 17 points. With Bournemouth also minus 17, and Luton even worse on minus 30.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
But
Luton that went down that year.
Luton went down. Bournemouth just missed out on the playoffs. And Rotherham just missed out on the playoffs. But Rotherham finished the highest. And if you ever go to the New York Stadium, you go to the entrance and there's a trophy, what's like League 2A trophy. Or 3A, something like that. League 3A.
Yeah.
And it's a massive trophy. What Soccer AM gave to Rotherham United, because it was a competition between us three for which team had finished the highest. So,
oh, yeah. Remember that.
So Rotherham have got that in the trophy cabinet. But yeah, Don Valley had its course.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Millmore's still there, as we know. It's still there, and I've even heard that apparently the grass is still freshly cut. Will we ever see Millmore in action again by any team, do you think? Or do you think demolition's around the corner? It can't
have a demolition to the ground because it's got a sporting lease, so the ground's still got to be used for sports purposes for I reckon at least 7 years. I think it had something like a 10-year lease on it. I'd love to see football back at Millmore. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't swap the New York Stadium for Millmore now, but I can see that it's probably got potential for a non-league side to start there. I'm very much to do with, I like football to have a bit of history. So like Parkgate, I wouldn't move Parkgate to Millmore because Parkgate play at Parkgate. Do you get me?
Absolutely.
But I'd love to see it, even if it's a Sunday League team. I would go back and visit that ground again, just to reminisce. Smell the toilet. The toilets had a horrible smell. You could just smell the smoke in the toilets. The pies as you're coming out of the ground. Rotherham were the first team to sell pucker pies, and every fan who come to Millmore, the pies were so hot at Rotherham. It was unbelievable. We made them extra hot. So, and it was known that they'd take a bite of it, and if they didn't like it, they'd throw it. And they normally hit one of the back of the head.
Fantastic. No, I'd love to go there, have the chance to visit Millwall one day, whenever that may be, if I'm lucky enough, I hope so. But in terms of Rotherham, what is your favourite memory of Rotherham United? I've got a feeling what you might say, but I don't know, we'll see. But your favourite Rotherham United memory?
It's very hard because you think, I've spent pretty much majority of my life watching Rotherham. So, it depends if you're talking about a game specific or a moment at the club.
Anything, a moment, a game, whatever.
My favourite moment was walking to the New York Stadium for the first time and thinking, finally, we've got a ground what's our own, what we can call our home. We're not renting. We're not there just because we're waiting for his ground to be built. This is our home. That feeling back in town, 2012. You can't beat that feeling. But then for the football, it's got to be at Wembley. 2014 at Wembley. Alex Ravel, double, and then to win on penalties. But that game, we were 2-0 down at half time. Everybody sulking. Leighton Orient v Rotherham. I don't know if you can remember it in the playoffs.
I can. That was what I was thinking you were going to say.
Yeah, this was the game. 2-0 down. We score a scrappy goal, tapping Ravel, and then it's a goal kick. He gets flicked on. Agard to Pringle to Ravel, and I'm thinking, what's he doing here? I just go, oh, what the? And then I went, it's going in. And then Wembley erupted. Now, I might be being biased again, but I've not seen a better goal at Wembley than Alex Ravel's. And it's no...
I was just about to say that, mate, as well. Still to this day, that's probably the best goal at the new Wembley.
I mean, we always go, ambitious, but brilliant. And that slogan will stay with Rotherham United. I've seen towels made, ambitious but brilliant towels, with like pictures of Ravel on it. That moment, no one can take that away from us. But then even to win penalties, and then when you're losing a penalty shootout at Wembley, that adrenaline as a player, that fear that you've lost, and then to turn that around, Adam Collins saving 2 penalties, and Rotherham coming from behind to win again. It was just unbelievable. The emotion that day. That is why you love football, for moments like that.
Yep, I agree with you, mate. And obviously for Leighton Orient, it was the highest that they've still got in their history, I believe, at the moment, weren't it? Like I say, that was the end, and then they went down the year after.
They were a very good side. They had Moses Barjo, he was a very good player.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a good side. Kevin Lisby, he's been around a bit, but at that time he was brilliant. David Mooney, he had a very good season for him. Yeah. Romain Vincelot in midfield, he was very good at midfield. But Rotherham had players like James Tavernier out at Rangers. Kieran Agard, Ben Pringle were very good for us. Lee Frecklington, Harry Spukic. It's crazy. You still remember all the players. Kari Arneson, who's played for Iceland in international stage against England.
Right, Jack. Sorry to interrupt you. I've got another question. So you were talking about the playoff final and that goal being the sort of the best goal scored at Wembley. Now, as a Blade, I'm going to contest it. So I've seen Wade Elliott score an incredible goal for Burnley against us back in 2009. I can remember being sat behind the net watching that fly in against Paddy Kenny. But have you heard of a player called, you know his name, the Army. Hull City versus Sheffield Wednesday. That's my favourite goal at Wembley. Can we keep that as the number one?
We'll give it. It scores very highly on my list. I'd say that's the second. I'll tell you the reason why. It's just the creativity of L's shot. Who'd think to shoot from that far out and it just fly into the net?
Ask Gary Alexander for Millwall, that day.
That's
yeah, not many.
That's third on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right, mate. Not many, especially when you're losing as well.
Yeah. In pressure games.
Right. Another question I want to ask is, with Rotherham, there's a man called Neil Warnock. What, again, he got Sheffield United promoted to the Premier League. He then become your manager. What did you think to having Warnock in charge?
Having Warnock was absolutely brilliant at Rotherham. I loved it. We went to matches and opposition sides would be like, "Oh, we're going to batter you today." Oh, but what's Warnock been like anyway? And we went, well, I'll tell you one thing. If we only need a point to stay up, we'll get that point. You might have 16 shots. You'll have all the ball, and you'll come out of the game wondering how you've not won that match. Neil Warnock had you organised. He rallied players who looked like they were down and out, who looked like, oh, we were already relegated. He really got behind them, gave them belief, gave them confidence, and for a team like Rotherham to go on a 14-game unbeaten run in the Championship, it was incredible. And that included going to places like the Stye and winning 2-1 at Hillsborough. Some winning leads. Some great performances. Going to MK Dons and winning them 4-0. Rotherham winning 4-0 away in Championship. I know MK Dons were all in for that one season, but it was still a brilliant achievement. And just picking up points, it just made you hard to beat.
He's that sort of manager, though, isn't he?
Yeah, not necessarily nice football, but he'll make you hard to beat, and that's what you want from a team, isn't it? You want to be hard to beat. You want to not get, if you don't lose many games, you're going home happy, aren't you?
I always say this to football fans. You've got two choices. You can either play good football, but not guaranteed to win all the time, that is. Or you can play horrible football, but guarantee you get results. Which one would you pick? I know which one I'd pick. It's a results game. I'd go with that one.
Yeah.
For me.
I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, I think football is changing more and more. All this technology side of it. Looking at XG and how the signing players is a lot different to how it used to be. Obviously, the money side of football is just going crazy at the minute. But yeah, I'd go for results any day. Doesn't matter how you play. A scrappy 1-0 win will do me.
Right, Jack. So you're talking about how you're a Rotherham fan, and you sort of talked about how you got into sort of the non-league through Partgate. Do you want to tell us a bit more now about your non-league experience? How many grounds have you been to? How many different sort of countries are, and what do you think of non-league?
Right.
When would you have called yourself a groundhopper as well?
Good question.
Yeah.
So I've done 233 grounds. I've done England, Scotland, and Wales so far. I've not travelled out of the UK. So I've done about 12 grounds in Scotland. I've done 4 grounds in Wales, sorry. And then the rest are in England. So yeah, ground hopping. when did I become a ground hopper? I'd say about 2015, 2016. Because that when I started going away with Rotherham, going back to Football League, when I started going with Rotherham, and I was going to all these away games, new grounds, I thought, these are brilliant. I love going at new grounds, ticking them off my list. I'm thinking, oh, where am I going this Saturday? Where am I going next Saturday? Visiting all these places. I just loved it. And then non-league, when the ticket prices soared and went up, I thought, instead of paying 40 quid to go to Leeds or wherever, Norwich, I thought, I've done them grounds. I've done them twice and them 3 times. What's the point in gonna? I've been to Ellen Road nine times. What's the point going there when I can tick off a new ground? Then I look at teams close by. I did Matlock Town in my early days. That were a cracking ground. I probably started being a ground hopper 2016, and that's my ground hopping. That's how I really started, anyway.
The rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you have a favourite ground?
My favourite ground. Non-league or Football League?
Ever. Whichever.
Well, if I were biased, I'd say New York Stadium, but I'll not go with that. Favourite ground? I like Hampden Park. I think the National Scottish Stadium. It's just the infrastructure, how it's built provides a really good atmosphere. I really like the stadium I like at Sunderland. No, I haven't done a match day experience at Celtic, but I've done a ground tour. I thought that was brilliant. So that's definitely on my to-do list. Non-league wise, I don't class this as a non-league ground, but I loved Edgeley Park at Stockport.
Yeah, definitely fit for the Football League, isn't it? Well, they are a Football League.
A Football League
mainly based club, aren't they? Yeah.
I like to call him a sleeping giant, who are now awakening and coming back. Stop.
They are, yeah. They're looking good at the moment.
Alfreton Town. It's not one of them grounds that you think, wow, but you go to it. It's friendly. It's cheap. It's not cheap, but it's just a decent price, run by good volunteers. The food's nice. You go into a club shop. They've got a big programme shop, memorabilia and badges. I mean, that is football heaven to me.
Yeah, I've seen it, mate. It's fantastic.
I mean, there's so many grounds what I could mention. I liked going to Wrexham's ground. That were brilliant. Halifax's ground. That's a lovely ground. Even then, to as low as something like Thorn Colliery, what I've only just done recently. I mean, that had a cracking stand on it, and you just think, how many years has that stand been up? How many different teams have played in this stadium? How many players have seen the history of this club? To grounds like Swanwick, Pentridge Road, that's a club who's not running. That they've had to dissolve, and that was just a lovely little village club. So, in terms of grounds, it's very hard for me because I can rank them in different sectors really to what they've got, and different grounds offers different things for me. So, like at Pinkston, at back of the goal, it's up on a hill. So you've got a different vantage point, and I loved it. But I've got some cracking stories which I'll come on to later.
Yeah, I'm personally a big fan of the picturesque grounds. So, Mr. 233 ground man, what's the most picturesque ground you've seen?
AFC Moseley.
Moseley.
That's incredible. It was breathtaking views up there.
Yeah.
Air United, that's not bad as well. But Football League wise, I'd go with Grimsby Town.
Grimsby
If
Town.
you sit in their main stand on the upper
Top tier.
top tier their main stand, you can't see it clear, but you can see the sea and you can see like ships and stuff that sail past. So if the game's boring, you can watch the ships.
What, so you can see the sea from up there?
Yeah, top tier, you can see the sea.
Right. I didn't know that. Fantastic. And as I say, as for Thorn Colliery the other night, I saw the pictures and thought, wow, that's really good. So, Ben, must be on a hit list soon, mate.
Yep, definitely. One we need to go to.
Let's get it done.
Right, so Jack, you've said that you've been to all these grounds, which we talked about your favourite grounds. Now I'm going to switch it. What's the worst ground you've been to and why?
Oh, worst ground. Oh, it's a hard one. Because in a way, I really like. I don't like to knock a ground or a club. I'd say when you go to Gillingham, they've got a temporary stand, a supposedly temporary away stand. What has that been up now? 13 years. So I don't know what your class temporary is down in Gillingham, but that stand. I don't know if any of you have been to Gillingham and have been on that away end, but it's just an open.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on it, Ben?
It's just a bit of scaffolding. It's nothing special whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, as a United fan, going with sort of 2,000 plus fans, we've celebrated a goal. So, but we've lost the times I've been. So it's not been the best experience celebrating wise, but sometimes it's a positive because I feel like if we non-stop celebrating, it might come through.
Exactly. I did have thoughts of thinking that my phone, if I jump up, my phone might fall down scaffolding. But on the flip side, don't that ground add something different to it? To these new builds, your Middlesbrough, your Derbies, all on whole cities. They're a bit different, aren't they? Going to Gillingham and seeing something like that. The stand's horrific, but it's just different. So it's hard to have a ground what I dislike really. I'll tell you what I do. It depends on the away ends. So like at Wolves, we went to Wolves at boiling hot day. We lost. We were 4-1 down, pulled it back to 4-4, lost 6-4. Absolute cracking day out. But could I tell you what any of them goals look like? No. Sat on the front row at Wolves, and the pitch is higher than your seat. So it would just. But Rotherham had sold out their end, and there were no spare seats. So it was a cracking day out for atmosphere and stuff, but I'm not saying the ground overall will be a bad experience if you sit in a different tier or higher up. But where we were sat, and I've sat twice at Wolves in the lower tier, and both times it's not a great view at all. So for that, I'd say that's one of them as well.
Fair point.
Well, in terms of Wolves, I can say I've been there twice. First experience, again, I was sort of like first, second row towards the front. It sort of reminds me, I don't know if you've been to Crystal Palace away. It's a bit like that as well. Their away end, that you're so low down that sometimes you can't see the other side of the pitch. Otherwise, you're sort of moving left to right, trying to look over someone's head. It's sort of that experience where it's great to be there, but it's like, well, what can I see?
Yeah.
And again, same with Everton. I don't know if you've been to Everton's away, and that's sort of similar. You got a pole one side that can stop your view. And as much as the fantastic grounds, I sort of agree with you on that. you got to judge it on your experience with the away section.
Yeah, definitely. But like Gillingham, I've had a fantastic day out there. Rotherham were 3-1 down in the 80th minute. We made a substitute. Someone called Tom Hitchcock come on. We had him on loan from QPR, and he come on and scored a hat trick. Now the manager at Rotherham at the time was Steve Evans, who is ironically now the manager of Gillingham. But the Gillingham fans at the time gave him so much aggro and grief. They were singing "Stand Up If You Hate Evans," and all the standards stand up, singing it. So when we score in the 82nd minute, we score another in the 85th. We score at 90th and at 92nd to win 4-3. And we were going mental. And Steve Evans runs up pitch and gives us a fist and jumps up in the air as he does. And at full time whistle, Rotherham fans are singing "He's laughing at you." That man Steve Evans is laughing at you, and he puts his hand to his ear, and all Gillingham fans are giving him stick as he walks out. And that was a brilliant away day. And then we come out on the street at Gillingham, and it's like, you've been to Gillingham, it's like just like a row of terraced houses as you're walking through, and that like police had to come and get because their fans are so hyped up and so annoyed that we'd won. But it was a cracking day out, yeah.
Fantastic, mate, that.
So, experience-wise, what you're looking for in the game?
In the game, I want to see goals. I want to see cards. I want to see passion. I want to see people who care about the game. I want to see quality of football. Well, to be fair, the quality of football doesn't matter if I'm watching like non-league, because I don't expect it to be the same hype, but I just expect to see the effort, the passion, the desire all to be there. And that's all I can ask, really.
In terms of non-league, like you said, obviously the quality is not going to be the best. Otherwise, they would be playing in high divisions. But what do you like about non-league? Why have you gone and done 233 grounds? And I'm sure lots of them are non-league grounds as well. What makes you want to come back every week and go to visit different grounds as well?
Yeah, so about 140 of the grounds are non-league. And the reason why is because it's kind of a cheap and cheerful experience. So the ground, they don't rip you off with prices. You go to the ground and you feel welcome, you feel greeted. And you're exploring towns and places where you've never been before. Like I went to Staley Bridge, and I thought, I've never been here before, but it was absolutely a fantastic place. I loved it. Like just so many random places. South Normanton. I mean, I never expect what feel like going there, and then you go there and it's like, what a ground, a lovely ground, a bit scenic and fantastic place. People who bend over backwards to see you. When you go to these football league games, not merely at Rotherham, they're a really community club. So especially at home games, you feel it. And away games, the players always appreciate you. But if you're going away to Norwich, you're just a figure, aren't you? Really, in the crowd, they're not bothered about you. You're a figure. If you go to non-league, if 20 people are like me from Rotherham who happen to go to the same non-league ground, to get from 40 to 60 is absolutely massive to them. So I'd say, have a go, support your non-league club. Go and have a watch, experience what non-league's like. You'll have a surprise. The quality might not be the same, but you'll get a fantastic welcome, and hopefully you'll have a great day out.
Yeah, no, I'll say there, mate. I certainly got a shock going to watch Shirebrook Town all those years. Thought it was fantastic.
I've been to Shirebrook myself. Yeah, it's one of them places.
That's one of
them. The football club is the heart and soul of the community.
Yep, I saw that after watching Sunderland Till I Die. Sunderland community is the club. It is that for a lot of places as well. Totally agree with that. So 233 grams not out. Where is your dream ground? Anywhere in the world? What's your dream ground up?
Oh. See,
you can have more than one if you want.
It's probably, I'd love to do, it's not more of a ground hop, it's more experience. I'd love to go to Celtic Park to watch Celtic v Rangers. I think that's my number one. I'd love to go to Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm. Any more out there for you? Jack, any more?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Did it cut off at all?
We just went silent for a bit. Did you have another
How many grounds have I said here?
You
told us Celtic, Real Madrid.
Celtic, Real Madrid. Real Madrid versus Barcelona. That'd be a cracking one. Going to Barcelona. Going to PSV Eindhoven. And Ajax. And looking at the philosophies of football. Because the way they play over there, it's brilliant. And something I'd like to study in with me being a football coach as well. The thing is, for me, I enjoy going to any ground. So there's lots of grounds I'd like to do. I'd like to finish off my 92 grounds. And I mean, I'm on 72 at minute, so I'd really like to get that finished. I'd like to go to Dortmund and sit on the Dortmund wall or experience it from the side and just watch it. It's a hard one between being in it or watching it. I can't make my mind up on that.
I think, as my experience is, I think I'd love to be in it.
Yeah, me too.
FC St. Pauli, I'd like to go there. I've heard that's quite a tasty experience.
Oh, Hamburg's rivals. Arch rivals, And if you've seen the Under the Cosh video, you'll know I'll know what you're talking about, definitely.
So there's so many, isn't there? So many different grounds that I'd like to go to. So that's it really.
Yeah. So as a football fan and as a Rotherham fan, what I'm going to say away support, so I can't be biased towards Rotherham. What's the best away support you've seen?
Who's come to your ground and wowed you? Thought they were good fans.
Well, I wouldn't say they wowed me because you kind of expect it, but Newcastle.
Okay.
When Newcastle came to Rotherham, they were unbelievable. Birmingham City, they always bring a good follow. They were brilliant at our place. Derby County, they always have a decent atmosphere when they come. You've got your obvious Leeds United. They're always decent. But yeah, Birmingham City are probably the top dogs for Football League. In conference, I would say Stockport's number one, followed by FC United of Manchester.
Oh yeah, FC United.
And also Aldershot Town.
Aldershot Town? No, that's a surprise one. I wouldn't have thought of them.
They take about 200, 300 to every non-league game. I mean, obviously they're an ex-Football League club, but they're brilliant. Their fans sing 90 minutes. For 90 minutes just singing.
Fantastic.
But if I was to flip it, the question, and say, what home fans are the best? I hope you don't mind me doing this.
No, do it, mate.
Derby County, their home fans were brilliant. Also, were Lincoln City.
Oh, mate, yeah, I know that one. I've been there. They were incredible.
So, yeah, them two were probably the best home ones.
I mean, my late granddad lived in Lincoln. He was a big fan of the club as well, Lincoln City. He's no longer with us, but I never really got the chance to tell him how incredible they were, and whether, you know, if he ever did go to Sincil Bank, what they were like back then. But Lincoln City were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you were saying earlier how you said you got some stories to tell us. Do you want to feel free to tell us these stories?
So,
let's go.
Gainsborough Trinity versus Stockport County. So, what happened to me going to this game is basically I went to Edgeley Park to watch Stockport play, and I thought, and it was brilliant. I loved it. And I thought, next time Stockport are away and I can't get to the Rotherham game for some reason, I'll go on the train and go to Gainsborough. So, and then Stockport happened. That was when Stockport were playing games, and that was the next away game. And I thought, brilliant, that's the game I'll go to. Gainsborough v Stockport. So, but the story really is not the game. So, I'm on the train at Sheffield, going to Gainsborough, and there's a couple of ex-Rotherham players who are playing for Gainsborough, and I collect autographs. And I had a Rotherham book about the year when Rotherham nearly went out of business, and three of the players who played in that team were playing for Gainsborough, so I wanted their autograph. So I'm sat waiting on the train, and I get one of my books out, and I just started reading it, minding my own business. And then there's these two girls in front of me. It was festival season, just started summer, and I'm sat there reading my book, and all of a sudden one of them, I've lost my phone, to other one. And then they seem to be really panicking. I'm just reading my book anyway, ignoring everything that's going on. And conductor comes and says, "Oh, what's the matter?" They said, "Oh, we've lost his phone, etc., etc." Can I have a look? Can we have a look? And then they asked me, "Can we have a look near your seats if it's dropped out there?" So I stand up, lift my bag up, let them have a look. Oh, it's not there. I went, I'll tell you what, instead of me having to stand up because they were taking ages, I just moved to seat opposite. So I were out of their way. And I kept reading my book, minding my own business. The conductor then asked me to have a meeting with her. So she asked me to go to the other side of the train. She went, "Are you?" And they were saying, "Have you took this girl's phone? She's going to a festival tonight, and if she doesn't have her phone, she won't be able to contact her parents." I'm guessing they were about 18, between 18 and 19, and so still youngish. I wanted to confirm with the parents where they were, but I was saying, "I have not got your phone. I haven't got the phone. There's nothing I can do. I can't magic you a phone. I've just not got it." And she went, I went, "You can search me if you want." So she took some details off me anyway, phone number and stuff. And then I felt awful. I felt guilty that she'd lost her phone, but it weren't me. I went, "You can check my bag. You can check me." Anyway, pulled up in Gainsborough. Just about to get off train. Don't worry, love. The phone dropped down the radiator, dropped out of the pocket into the radiator part of the train. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
I got, I'm all the way there. I had all that stick, but yeah, when I got to Gainsborough, bumped into some Stockport fans, played pool with them. I said I were rubbish, and they went, "Oh, we're quite good," and I won them anyway, so I was chuffed. I wanted a pin badge, so Stuart says, "Yeah, this way, come with me." So I got a pin badge, and then it says, "Right, if you would just walk that way, you don't have to come back. You don't have to come back out of the ground now." I went, "What?" And he went, "Well, I'm not allowed to let you back out." So he just let me in for free then. So that was Gainsborough, really. I mean, Stockport won the game. I think it was 2-1, but I'm not sure. But there was a certain player in goal on loan from Man United at the time, a 17-year-old Dean Henderson.
No, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that
A player I know well.
Was this when they were in the National League North?
yeah.
Interesting.
So that's one of my stories. But I think, that would normally happen on a Groundhopping day. So that was quite a unique experience as such. I've got so many. I went to Alfreton v Leyton Orient in FA Cup. And I got on telly. Me and my girlfriend were there. Ball were going to hit us in crowd, and I ducked. And Anna got her hand out to pat it away, so I looked a bit like I was daft, like I was a scaredy cat. So that was brilliant.
You're right on it, lad.
Right on BT Sport on a cold December. But so many different stories. I just watch any type of game. Like Hannah, my girlfriend, she used to play for Rotherham Ladies and Sheffield United Ladies, so she's so you got used to watching her every Sunday. So like, if there's not a game on now, we will go and find a ladies game and watch one. We'll watch anything. I remember going to Ipswich Town. I ate the first part of the burger and then had to throw it away. I don't rate food at Portman Road. The food is horrific.
Okay, thanks for telling me for when I ever go.
Yeah, well, if you do, just don't get a burger.
Okay. Get a hot dog.
I remember it was the end of a 6-week holidays, and it were the Sunday before I was back at work on the Monday. Rotherham had to play Portsmouth on Sky. So, and it were away at Portsmouth. I've never been to Portsmouth, and it were a 12 o'clock kickoff. So we set off at 5:30 in the morning, and I went. Even though it was on Sky, I thought, stuff it, I'll go. Not won an away game in over, I think it was about 16 months, something like that. And it was against Kenny Jackett's Portsmouth. Now, at that time, Kenny Jackett left Rotherham. And Rotherham were in a mess ever since then. We gave him lots of stick. And Rotherham won 1-0. So it was a massive win. That away hoodoo, finally done. Finished. So that was a great day out, great story in itself. That one. I remember going to Bradford City, and we got in there 10 minutes later. As soon as I walked in, Naki Wells scored. The place erupted. When I talk about home fans earlier, Bradford City, they were brilliant. Great atmosphere there. But yeah, and then that night they got 2 goals disallowed. We were getting battered, and then we get a penalty. So we get a penalty, and then Lee Frecklington scores it, 1-0 up. They're still absolutely hammering us. They get a corner. Goalkeeper comes up for a corner. We boot it clear. Kieran Agard scores. About 50 Rotherham fans on the pitch, and that was the night when we knew that we were 2 games away from getting promoted. So that was brilliant in a different type of story.
Fantastic, that, mate.
So obviously Rotherham tend to, especially at the moment, they sort of fluctuate between Championship, League One. Then they get promoted again. What's your favourite promotion as a Rotherham fan, and is there any relegations what sort of hit you more than others?
The relegation what hurt most was when we went from League One to League Two. Because that's just disheartening when going into League Two as a Rotherham supporter. No club has got a divine right to be in a single league. You're there on merit. Like Burton Albion, you're there on merit. You're in League One, you're there on merit. I think Stockport's a bigger club than Burton, but they're there on merit. So I've got no complaint.
I agree with that one.
But for getting relegated with Rotherham League One to League Two, if Rotherham get relegated from Championship, don't get me wrong, I'm gutted, heartbroken. But I know we'll have another good crack at it, getting back up again. It's probably a bit like you, Ben, your experience Sheffield United. If they get relegated from Premier League, or you think, well, we've had a good crack at it, we'll go again next season. That's my opinion, really, on Championship. Promotion-wise, you just can't beat. No matter if you win the league, no matter if you get runners-up, you can't beat winning at Wembley. Sorry to say, Sheffield United or Sheffield Wednesday, to mention it, have both not been very successful at Wembley. But Rotherham at the new Wembley have won 2 out of 3 games with 2 promotions to the Championship. And we won at the old Wembley to win what was the Johnson's Paint Trophy. Yeah.
The FL Trophy, yeah.
Which that competition's gone a bit weird now with the group stages.
In terms of winning at Wembley, yep. I mean, the first time I went, it was against Burnley in 2009. That was a Wade Elliott goal. What won it for Burnley? Second time, again 0-0 after 120 minutes. We was in a very good position in the penalty shootout after 3 penalties, and then it goes all the way down to Steve Simonson, who then goes and fires over the crossbar, and then we had the FA Cup experience against Hull. Now to be 2-1 up at half time and lose 5-3. As a neutral, it's a cracking game, but as a United fan, we should have been going to the final that day, and all heartbreaking experiences. But I still think it's the best one because it's the only time I celebrated at Wembley. So I'm getting excited about celebrating at Wembley, and you're here winning 2 games at Wembley. Completely different experience.
And that's what football's all about, them different experiences and sharing them with people. That's why I think your podcast is a good idea. Sharing different experiences of football and the game we all love.
Yep, definitely. Everyone's got a story to tell in football.
So, I've got a story I forgot to tell you earlier.
Go on, do tell.
I got the train to Alfreton, and then instead of going to Alfreton, I went to Pinxton. Right, I mentioned Pinxton earlier having a slope on the hill and being a friendly. But the reason why they've been friendly, it took me. I think it were roughly about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes from Alfreton Station to Pinxton to walk it. Now, if you know me, I'm a Yorkshireman, and Yorkshiremen are known for being a bit tight. And for me, I don't like getting buses if I can help it. And I've never been to Pinxton before, so I'm like, crack on, let's crack on. I'll walk it and I'll see what can I see while I'm walking. I've got plenty of time. Nice Saturday afternoon. Pulling to Pinxton about 1 o'clock. After 1 o'clock. So I'm there on my sat nav, following it all the way to Pinxton. 10 minutes before I get to the ground, battery's gone from 45% to 15%. I'm like, I'm gonna have to be careful here. Like about 5 minutes before I get to the ground, it's gone. My phone's died. I've got a charger, but I've got no power socket. And I was snookered. And I had to go around asking people where the ground was for Pinkston. So it took me an extra 15 minutes to actually get to the ground. But I did eventually find it. A nice guy, Groundhopper, luckily enough. So now I'm going as well. I'll show you. Got me there. And then when I were in there, I said, "Oh, my phone's died. I'll need to contact someone later. Is there any chance I can use my charger to charge my phone?" So I left my phone with charging while I was watching first half. I mean, you won't get that at a football league ground. So getting my phone charged in their plug sockets while I was watching game. So I thought that was like a unique experience in itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was just really unique. And then a really funny one, right? Easter, Good Friday. Rotherham playing Birmingham at 3:00. Stockport were playing Telford at 7:30. So me and my mate thought, right, we'll do the Rotherham game, and then he'll drive and we'll go to Stockport. So we do the Rotherham game, get in car, and we've been travelling about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Hey, we're doing well here. Says ground's only 15 minutes away. And he's plodding along. And I go, "Are you sure you put right postcode in here? 10 minutes away." That's a sign for Bradford. Hang on a minute. We did Bradford last Saturday. We did Bradford Park Avenue last Saturday to tick it off. Check the postcode. He's only put blooming Bradford Park Avenue. It's gone to its previous one, but Bradford Park Avenue. We're 10 minutes from Bradford Park Avenue's ground when we needed to get to Stockport. So that was like 6:00, about 6:10. Then we're on the way to Stockport. So, and as we're coming, there's a massive storm. So thunder, lightning, rain in the lot. We're getting right near to Stockport. It was like 7:20. So we're pushing it then for time to get in for 7:30 kickoff. It takes a right, like it says at sat-nav. And then all of a sudden, all I see is buses. I went, "Chris, you're driving into the bus station." And we were in the middle of Stockport bus station. I went, "Turn around anywhere." We just had to get out of there. So that was just hilarious. I mean, what a story, really, ended up in a bus station in Stockport trying to get to the ground when you're rushing and having a diversion into Bradford up way. They're all coming back to me now. That's the end of that story, really. Then game were fine and atmosphere were decent. But then one of the big stories, Rotherham versus Burton, Christmas time. So we're getting to the ground. Everyone's wearing Santa hats for charity. Pound and a half. So we get one. And all fans are singing, "If you haven't got in that, you're a twat." And it was brilliant. Just winding everyone up. "If you haven't got in that, you're a twat." It was brilliant. Yeah. No, it was brilliant. But the real story for that day was out way home. So he's driving out. I keep saying, "Can you hear a popping noise?" No. I can hear a popping noise. You're going to have to pull over. So he pulls over. He's got a massive nail in his tyre. I went, "If you would have been driving any more, that tyre would have blown off. That would have popped and would have been crashed somewhere." So we had to phone recovery truck guys up, and then we're all singing, we're going home in the recovery truck, and then we're all sat in this recovery truck, and you know, like a dentist chair, what goes up and down. The driver had one of them up, and me, and there were a few of us who went for him, who went, and us to him, and that was absolutely laughing all the way home. And I made it drunk with car who's had to fork out 250 quid because he ain't got insurance on his car. He didn't have your insurance to your breakdown cover. That's the word. Because he didn't have breakdown cover, he had to pay £250 to get it fixed. But we absolutely howled all the way home. Who's ever been on an away day and ended up going home in a recovery truck?
No, I haven't.
No, not an experience I've had so far either.
Tiny percentage of the British population of football fans probably.
So, absolutely mental.
Yeah. Probably my worst story in terms of getting home from a ground is United played Leyton Orient. So we got the train from Sheffield all the way to London, St Pancras. And then we obviously, as you do before, getting to London about nine, getting into pubs, having a few beers, going at ground, and then we got the last train back to Sheffield booked. So we went into Chinatown, drinking around Chinatown. So at the time, some of the lads have sort of split up, and we're like, me and one of the lads were like, we best get back to the train station. So we get on tube, get to the St Pancras train station. Next thing you know, we can't find train. The right platform. So we're asking this steward, and he's like, "Oh, it's this way, mate." So we're plodding along. We just put our ticket through barrier to get on train, and next thing you know, train set.
Oh.
A few seconds before, would have been on it, but we just missed it. And that was the last train back to Sheffield. So I'm like, well, this is your fault. It took us the wrong way. What we're going to do now? So the train next to us went to Derby. So we jumped on that. And we explained that we've just missed that train. Is there any chance we can use these tickets to sort of get further up north? And he went, it's the last train, but it's only going to Derby. So, come on. So the train from from London to Sheffield, arrived in Sheffield before this train, what we got to Derby, arrived at Derby. Bear in mind, there were 5 minutes set-off time difference. So not only is the likes of my brother already in Sheffield and at home, we're still on the train going to Derby. Then we had to get back from Derby to Sheffield. So there was the suggestion of sort of finding a boozer, rocking up there, waiting till it closes and trying to get the next train home. But at the end, we decided to get a taxi, and he wanted £70 up front to get to Sheffield, and I was the first. I was the first to get out of the taxi, and it was talking about £65 on the obviously money wise. So I don't know how much it would have been at the end. I said, well, it's your fault you guys into this position. You can pay it rest. But that's my experience, missing a train and forking out more money just to get home same day.
Oh dear.
Never good.
Right, Jack. So we're touching an hour plus on this podcast. So we'll give you one question to finish off with before we wrap it up. So groundhopping. If you had 3 words to sum groundhopping up, what would it be?
It would be grounds, games, goals.
I like that one.
Yep.
The 3
grounds,
Gs.
Games, goals.
Right, I don't know if you heard in the background, but Alexa turned on at the same time and said, "Ooh, I don't know that one." So
I did it. I giggled. I helmet.
I thought, I wonder who's got that on.
Yeah, so
Brilliant.
Grounds, games, goals. I like it. You need a ground. You need 2 goals, and you want to see goals, and it's a game of football. Perfect.
Yeah.
Right, Jack. It's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you for having you on.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it. Anytime. If you want to hear any more of my stories, just let me know.
Yeah, I look forward to going on more grounds with you as well.
So,
right, guys, just before we go and just before we say bye to Jack, don't forget we have Twitter at the FANA Fans, and we have the FANA Fan podcast on YouTube. This is also going to be out on Spotify, so all the links will be in the description. Jack, have you got anything else to say before we move on?
Be careful when you go to Nottingham Forest. If you go to a takeaway at Nottingham Forest and you get chips, don't get mixed up with red sauce and chili sauce. Last thing to say.
And
Right, thank you.
is great advice to finish on. Right, guys, this has been a Fanifying podcast. I'm Ben.
And
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Jack. And goodbye.
And goodbye, mate. Thank you.